such an impact on you and brought you out. Where was as you started to grow in that success and that journey, and you decided you wanted everything you do to have a positive impact on others, whether it was music and then movies, and then that journey led you to just tell us about the hard work and graft that went into the creation of what you said earlier, which was like, I was working so hard and my family hated me and this didn't work. But tell us about that hard work, because I think sometimes it's forgotten.
Yeah.
And it's, it's almost like you don't realize how, when I started spending closer time with you and started seeing you on set. And in the trailer, and then you'd walk out and in 2 seconds you'd be in character.
Yeah.
And then you'd walk back in and you'd be Will again. and then we were in your man cave and you have you have the movie plotted out and you'd walk me through like how that tells you what, and I started to understand and appreciate that what you do is a science and it is strategic and systematic and it is a skill you have worked on for decades and decades and decades. You start to realize that the external view of like, Will's charismatic and he's cool, and you start to realize like, yes, but that is underpinned with just hard work. And I think that that's a real awakening that a lot of people don't get to experience when they see you on a big screen. Because you don't see all of that there. You don't see the learning of the lines, and you have a phenomenal memory. Like we're studying spiritual books together, and you can remember stuff that you've read that day, and that comes from all your years of training. And even your ability when we first met, and you said, Jay, I'm an actor, when we're just direct me and we can do this because I can drop into a student mindset.
Absolutely.
So much of this is internalized. It's not. Tell us a bit about how long it took to learn all of this and start playing with it beyond just thinking, oh yeah, I've got this because I can act.
I grew up in a military household, and while there are certain emotional drawbacks to that, there are intellectual and organizational pluses that are hard to beat. So my father was really strict on order, organization, and the incremental completion of tasks, and also combined with my mother's push on education. As a really young child, we had to put hospital corners on our beds and our shoes were lined up, and so at 6 years old, we were forced to think along those military lines, and everything was a mission to my father. Like, there was nothing that was a basic task. You weren't just gonna wash the dishes. It was a mission, that had to be completed with, military precision, down to how much dishwashing liquid you're using and how much the bottle costs. And if you use that much, and how many dishes do you wash with that amount of dishwashing liquid, and how long are you going to be able to use this dishwashing bottle, so you can relate that to how much work you have to do to be able to wash that many.
Your dad sounds Indian.
Yeah.
I have to say, I was like, Will, is your dad Indian? It's like, wow, that is intense.
Yeah, so it was really, his mind was like that, and I took, we always take the things we hate the most from our parents. But, from that, the gift of structure and the gift of breaking tasks down, you set the goal, but the breaking the tasks down into smaller, manageable pieces was a thing that I came out of my childhood with. For example, you met JL.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I told when I said I wanted to be the biggest movie star in the world, and I was 18 or
Oh,
something.
no, I haven't met him yet.
Yeah,
I know
did
you're
you
talking
meet
about.
J.L.?
I haven't met him yet.
J.L.?
Yeah, I know
Okay.
you're talking about. Yeah,
And I
yeah.
said I want to be the biggest movie star in the world. So the first thing that we did is we looked at, okay, well, what are the top 10 movies of all time? Because if you want to be the biggest movie star in the world, you're going to have to make the biggest movies in the world. So we said, well, what are the top 10 movies? So we looked at the top 10 movies. We said, well, what are the patterns? What are the patterns in the top 10 movies? And at the time, 10 out of 10 were special effects movies. And 9 out of 10 were special effects movies with creatures. And 8 out of 10 were special effects movies with creatures and a love story. So, you know, that's where the bent for me towards sci-fi movies came from, the recognition of the patterns of sci-fi creatures and a love story. So that became what we were looking for with everything. And then Independence Day was a no-brainer, and then Men in Black was, behind that.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of systemized
Algorithms.
Yes,
Yeah,
right, exactly.
yeah,
Looking
yeah.
for what is the pattern, and that's one of the gifts my father stuck me with coming out of childhood.
Yeah. This is one of my favorite parts about talking to you because of this ability to turn those into gifts.
Yeah, yeah.
And I want to just emphasize that point to everyone who's listening and watching again, because I think we're living in a time right now where there's a lot of bitterness towards parents and what we received, and rightly so as well. Like some things are, quite hard to deal with, that level of trauma, etc. But at the same time, when we start looking at our lives this way, not in a fake way or an ingenuine way, but really start to process some of these things, to see the powers that it gave us.
Absolutely.
All the superheroes that we all love in sci-fi movies, they all got their powers from bad things that happened to them.
Exactly.
Like, no one ever had something good happen to them. And then they, like, for Spider-Man, he got bit by a spider. For this person, got abandoned by his parents. Like, all the superheroes we all love and worship all got their powers from something bad happening to them.
It's really difficult to say that to someone in the middle of the throes of a traumatic experience. We've talked about that, right? But, from sitting on this side of the experiences that I've shared, in my life and in my experience, there's no such thing as a bad experience, right? There's experiences you don't like.
And they hurt.
Right? But to define something as a bad experience, for me, has not been true. Everything that's ever happened to me in my life that at the time was deeply traumatic and debilitating. There's been only 2 times in my life when I contemplated suicide.
Wow.
There's been 2 times in my life. And the once was when my mother and father separated, when my parents broke up, and I was 12, and that was one of the only serious times in my life that I contemplated suicide. But even out of that, as I look back on that, the pain of that experience cultivated devotion in my life to my family, and I just never wanted to have my children suffer that. And of course, I got divorced from Cherie, so I was recreating that situation, but it woke me up in a way that forced me to try to connect with my children. So the negative experiences or the things that were awful at the time, there's always the other side of the coin, and in my experience, I've cultivated only positive things out of the most negative experiences of my life. My father's death, and the 6 weeks up to my father's death was probably the most formative time in my life. And as painful as it was, and as difficult it was, and all the stuff that came up during the time, it was a powerful, formative, positive experience in my life.